Favorite games for the Gear VR require the controller, like Adventure Time. Other ones like Smash Hit don't require it, but if you're spending, an hour or even a half an hour like with your right arm up and kind of like touching the headset, it's just not very comfortable. Other games like Ocean Journey, it's great to have, or Ocean Rift. It's nice to have the controller so you can explore without using the dial. So I got several controllers. I was just testing them out and wanted to give you feedback on what I have found. Unfortunately, it's not great news. Most of these controllers didn't really work very well. The PlayStation 4 controller is my favorite. Just feels really nice in my hands. Got great little analog sticks and triggers and everything like that. I was able to pair it with Bluetooth, but it really wasn't recognized, so I downloaded the Sixaxis app, and I tried multiple settings, and I tried to have it sort of imitate the standard controller, the Samsung controller. That's the official one right there. Nothing really worked. I would get into the Oculus store or even my library, and I would try to scroll, and everything would like scroll off the page, and I would have to use the square button there instead of kind of this little single dot button. So you can see that the orientation of the buttons just isn't quite the same. It's like they're kind of tipped up like that. So ultimately, most of the buttons didn't work, and my experience was very poor with this. And dang it, Samsung, like, WTF, this is a great controller, you should let it work with the system. Okay, I was exploring other options, and these are the three officially supported controllers. So we've got the SteelSeries right here, we've got the Moga Pro right here, and then we've got just the Samsung controller. This controller works great in terms of all the buttons working, all the apps and stuff in the Gear VR store. They actually use this as the demonstration, so the controller looks like this, and they point to all the buttons and tell you how to use it and stuff. I mean, I could kind of figure it out, even though the orientation of these buttons, again, is not tipped like it is on the Samsung controller. It's easy enough to figure out. The big drawback to this controller, for me personally, is that it has these like slidey buttons right here, very much like the Nintendo DS. Okay, so they're really low profile, and they're maybe not as vulnerable when you're just like tossing this thing in your bag. So it's a really rugged controller. It has good weight. I think it has a fairly large battery, but it just doesn't feel very good. Like, instead of letting my thumb just kind of like gently push from side to side like that, I'm actually smearing with this controller, and it just wears out my thumb more, like right here. It just gets tired, it gets sore. I really don't like it, but it works. Like, all the buttons work. So Samsung, I will give you my money, especially if you make just a better controller, or another option at least, because your controller is clearly the only one that works. Maybe you designed it that way, but it's just not that fun to use. It doesn't feel great with longer gaming sessions like I've been doing on the Gear VR. Okay, so let's get to these two other options. After having tried this one and failed, having gotten this one and succeeded, I got these other two controllers, the SteelSeries, the Moga. Let's go with the Moga first. This was supposed to be officially supported and work great, and in fact it even has this cool option where you can plug in USB into the back of the controller and then charge your phone. So let's say you're gaming on a plane or something like that, or you're watching a movie and you run out of batteries. This is like a backup battery for you. You can pull juice right off of this thing. It also works with your phone just like slotted into the top like that, so you don't have to use it with the Gear VR. One of the things that really bothered me about this is that you kind of got to download some software, and then they try to get you into their whole environment where it's like, oh, buy some games from us and here are a couple free ones, and it's just more bloatware. I only have a 32 gigabyte phone. I want to spend all of those gigabytes on my Gear VR apps. I don't want these other crappy games, and I don't want your bloatware on my system. So I installed that and tried to get it to work, and it didn't work perfectly for me even in that environment, but I uninstalled all of that software and just tried to pair it straight up Bluetooth, just like I had done with this, right? So you press this little button here, it sends a signal, your phone recognizes it, but it recognizes it as a computer, okay? And then it didn't work as a controller. So you kind of have to use their software, from what I've been able to tell. I did tinker with this quite a bit, but the experience just wasn't that great. And again, some of the buttons didn't work in certain apps. the way that they did with the official Samsung controller. So, I mean, this thing, it's pretty big, it's kind of heavy, it's still not my favorite. It's a lot more like an Xbox One controller than the PS4 or even the Samsung. So it's just, it does feel nice. It's got good weight. Some of the buttons are a little bit, the triggers are kind of harder than I would like. You really have to pull them. But the analog sticks are good, and again, that charging feature is good. I'm just going to like sell this because it doesn't work. All the buttons didn't work, and I don't like the bloatware. So, my final option, I was like, really, really want that layout with my sticks, and I want that experience that's going to be portable, but I still like the analog. And so I thought, man, the SteelSeries, that's going to be perfect. This is the SteelSeries Free, and I guess it's called Free because it's like so tiny. I mean, look at this thing. I mean, you're like right in there. And it does work, but I feel like I'm riding one of those like pocket bikes or something. It's just super small. This controller gave me the second best experience after the official Samsung controller, but it still didn't work in all the games, specifically in Ocean Rift. I was trying to use the buttons, and it just didn't seem like it recognized them. It only recognized a few of the buttons, but other games like Adventure Time worked just fine. And again, it was a little bit more comfortable with these sticks, but they kind of grind a little bit in there. It's not nearly as smooth as the PS4 or even the Moga Pro. So I don't know. Again, this would be my second choice. It's not a super cheap controller. I imagine it probably doesn't have as much battery capacity as some of these other controllers. So it's just it's kind of a mixed bag. Probably going to sell this one too. So I'm stuck with just the original official Samsung controller. And again, I beg you, Samsung, put some normal analog sticks on here so that people aren't getting their thumbs and stuff all cramped up. And yeah, I mean, I hope it helps you guys out. I did not test the Xbox One controller. I imagine you'd have similar results, especially given that these two are officially supported, but they don't even quite work perfectly. That's really your best option. And again, if you're trying to mess with the PS4 controller and trying to get that to work, the way to get your device to recognize it is to hold the share and hold the PS home button in the center, and then you see this flashing happening. And then you can look on your phone and go to settings, Bluetooth, and you can see it show up, and you click on it and it pairs. So it's fairly straightforward process. That's the same with this one too. You hold the button over and it starts setting out its Bluetooth signal, and once it's paired, it recognizes the controller very quickly in the future. So good luck out there, and chime in if you have any tips for how to get these other controllers working properly or other controllers that you like.